looking ahead a little bit on the calendar, we have a test. Excuse me. Looking a little ahead on the calendar, we have a test that's going to be this Friday. The overwhelming majority of the test will be your ability to factor and your ability to solve a quadratic equation. The vast majority. There is some review work on the test, and there is also a couple of word problems, like the quiz, and one of the ones where I think you're putting it's either the area of a rectangle or you're putting a walkway around a rectangle kind of thing. You'll get a pre-test on Wednesday and Thursday, so you'll know. And you also will have a one more series of quizzes that'll start this week, and that'll be it for the end of the market period. There will be no shot at a relearn packet with this test coming up, so it's going to be what it's going to be in terms of your grade. So I would suggest that you take advantage of extra help on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday to make sure you're ready for that test. Yes?
Never went over the homework. I mean, check it.
Oh, again?
We have a lot to check.
All right, who's kicking butt on their work on their homeworks and stuff?
No.
All right, AJ, you got it. Do the last 4 homeworks as you go around the room and check. Well, that's because nobody's doing their job.
I haven't done it yet.
Okay. Now, excuse me. Listen, if you're going to talk, that's fine. Feel free to talk. However, when you get crushed on Friday, I don't want to hear it.
All right, which floor was that?
Take today's and go back 4.
So, 1 or 2. Taking 4 home. Yeah, I don't have it, but like, I think it was lesson 2. No, lesson 3. I don't know, I think I was like the second one. I was the person who checked homework like the last time we checked homework. No, the time before the last time we checked homework. So, not our period.
We'll look at this one and then subtract by 2. It really helps.
Do you have any idea how counterproductive you're being? Evan, there is no need on God's green earth for you to talk to yourself right now. AJ, try to keep it down, bud.
Bless you.
Bless you. I believe the homework due today is number 5. Agree?
Yeah, not sure.
So 5, 4, 3, 2. And if one wasn't checked yet, then one also. Hey, don't talk. Just be silent. Get your paper out. You can show AJ when he comes by. It's really easy. Okay, now, sitting up on the board are the answers to last night's homework. I am going to move forward. If you are behind, then you just missed the answers. That's all there is to it. First one was a system of equations. Next up, I said to you that factoring would be a very big part of the test. You will have a whole bunch of questions like numbers 2 and 3 on your test. There'll be some review questions like numbers 8, 5, and 6 as well. So if you have a hard time with those, it's very important that you're at extra help either tomorrow night at the library, Wednesday or Thursday morning here. If you have a question on them now, you can ask. Right? Extremely important. This is exactly what you're going to be tested on. If you're getting it right now, you should be getting it right then. In some cases, I ran a little bit out of space, so I just kind of didn't show too much work on it. Then we get into the kind of questions that you can expect to see on word problems. Questions like 7 and 8. Again, if for any reason you can't get these right, then there is a problem. There is no relearn packet, so if you do not be proactive and get this stuff down pat before the test, it is going to be what it's going to be on that grade. Okay. Now, as far as scan 4 goes, what I wanted to make sure that you could do was where we left off the other day, which is on that table, right? That was the kind of work we finished up with in class the other day. I want to make sure you're able to do that. Okay. Any questions on that table? Okay. Now we go to today's sheet. And let's get looking over that. Do it. All right, now, as you look at your answers to these do it questions, it's a very good indicator in terms of how you're looking for Friday's test. Okay. First off, this is a quadratic equation. We know that up until now, every technique that we've learned has involved getting it all on one side. So I'm going to add 4 to both sides. That gives me 5x squared minus 21x plus 4 equals 0. Any question on that? Okay. So now you have to now look, I look for a common factor. I always want to look for a common factor. Just like I look both ways for across the road, I always look for a common factor before I try to factor out when there's something like the 5x squared, or the leading coefficient other than 1 in front of the x squared. There is no common factor, so I go to plan B. And I get x squared minus 21x plus 20. I don't write equals 0 because this is more like scratch work. X minus 20. X minus 1, then I have to divide back in by the 5, and this reduces to 4, so I get x minus 4. This guy doesn't reduce, so I put the 5x minus 1 there, and now I can go back to equal 0, because I have the factors written out. Maybe it's the guy on the left, maybe it's the guy on the right. Add 4 to both sides, x equals 4, add 1 to both sides, 5x equals 1 divided by 5, x is 1/5. So 4 and 1/5 are the correct answers to that. To me, that's the harder level of questions that you can expect to have on your upcoming test. So if you can handle that, and you can handle word problems, I think you can handle anything that I'm going to throw at you. Okay, any questions? All right. Next one. Square, n plus 8 squared. And the big thing I'm looking for you to realize with n plus 8 squared is that it is not n squared plus 64. That's the biggie. Because if you think that, then you're not going to understand completing the square. When I square this all out, I'm going to double distribute, and I get n squared plus 8n plus 8n plus 64, which is n squared plus 16n plus 64. And just to note, that comes into that whole half and square idea that we're really going to start emphasizing in a couple of minutes. Half of 16 is 8, and then square on the outside, n plus 8 squared. Okay, any questions? All right, did you actually have this question?
Yeah.
Number 3, you did. Okay, so this.
Wait, but it's different. It says 16x and 27.
Okay.
Sorry, I can't read.
X squared plus 10x plus 27?
Yeah.
All right. This leads to the heart of today's lesson. First off, before I proceed forward, are we clear on where we're at here? Okay. Now, completing the square. It is this new technique, and it's all based on the pattern that we saw in that table the other day, the pattern that we went over in your homework with the 2 rows from the table, and also the pattern that we just saw kind of hinted at in the last question. Half and square is the phrase that you need to remember every time, half and square, every time that you read completing the square. In your mind, you have to convert that to half and square. I gotta find a way to get that into my mind, half and square. So if it's half of the 10, so it's x plus 5 squared. And now I have to do a little bit of understanding. And this is the part that gets a little tricky. But once you wrap your head around it, we're all good. Listen very, very carefully, because this is the key for today and tomorrow. If you can get what I'm about to tell you, today and tomorrow will be easy. If I squared out, the half of 10 makes 5. Everybody there? Okay. Then if I square out the 5, what do I get?
25.
25. But what does this say? So of this 27, there's two parts. There's a 25 and a 2. Does everybody agree with that? Now, 25 just went inside the parenthesis. Because for this to equal x plus 5 squared, I would need to have x squared plus 10x plus 25. So out of this 27, 25 just went and is included in order for the parenthesis to truly be x plus 5 squared. But there's 2 left over, so I have to put a 2. And that is equivalent to, look at what the directions say, find an expression equivalent to. That is an expression that's equivalent to x plus 5 in parentheses squared plus 2. The plus 2, because this says plus 27, and in order for it to equal this, it was only supposed to say plus 25. So I have to add that 2 at the end to make sure it's still there. Yes?
So we have to do that each time when when it shows up like that?
When it wants an equivalent expression as a perfect square binomial.
We can just add what's not there.
You're breaking it apart. It is there. 27 contains that too. But I'm breaking the 27 into 2 pieces. 25 of which will go in the parenthesis, because when I square it, I get my 25. And the 2, which I need to add to the 25 to get to the 27 they gave me.
Okay.
All right? Any questions? Yes?
Like, how do you know to pick those numbers?
Because it's half and square. As soon as I half it and get 5, I then square the 5 to get 25. That tells me the 25, and then it's 25 plus what gets me 27. Okay? That's the key understanding. Half and square, work it from there. Any questions?
Well, that rhymes.
Yes, it does. And I just made it up, too. The old poet don't even know it.
Yeah, good one.
All right. So I'm going to do the next one with you, and then you're going to do the one after that. Okay? It says in these. Okay, Spencer.
You know your son's really into Biggie.
My son hides that from me. He knows better than to bring it up in public. Well, around me. So, all right, ready? Rewrite each expression by, here's the phrase, completing the square. As soon as I read completing the square, in my mind, what do I think? That stunk. When I read completing the square, in my mind, what do I think?
Half and square.
So, what's half of negative 4? Negative 2. So I know it's going to have to be a minus 2 squared. Now I start thinking. If I square negative 2, what do I get? I get 4. Now, of this 15, 4 were used in the parentheses. So how much more do I need to go from the 4 all the way to 15? Everybody?
11.
So I put a plus 11 here. And that is my complete the square. Are we good? Spencer?
Isn't, oh wait, never mind.
Now, just to be clear about this, let's do a little bit of side scratch work here to show that this truly is equal. Let's do a little a minus 2 times a minus 2, which is a minus 2 squared, plus 11. And let's see what that works backwards to. Double distributing, I get a squared minus 2a minus 2a plus 4 plus 11, which is a squared minus 4a plus 15, which is what I started with. So it is an equivalent expression, okay? You do the next one. Remember, half and square, how do I make that number at the end that they gave me? In the end of the game. Half and square, always half and square. Okay, so what is half of -2? Everybody?
-1.
Now, if I was to square -1, I would get?
2. +2.
No, I would not. What's -1 squared?
-1.
+1. Okay, now, this is +1. What do I need to totally add up to -15? 1 plus what gives me -15?
-16.
That's right. So then, that's my equivalent expression. N minus 1 squared minus 16. Okay, yes?
Isn't it a -1? Like when
No, when you square -1, that means -1 times -1, which is
positive.
+1. Anytime you square a number, it's always gonna come out to be positive, because you're either gonna get a positive times a positive, or a negative times a negative. In either case, I always come out to be
Or
positive.
else you have,
Okay? Any other questions?
yeah,
Okay, yeah, that would be the imaginary number system, and we're not going there yet. All right, take each of these three and express them as equivalent expressions. Thank you. Bless you. Half and square, and then how do I make that number on the end? Half and square, how do I make that number on the end? I like drawing that little fork that I've been drawing on the end of each of these. I think it's helpful to do that. Half and square, put that little fork there. Oh, I'm being so poetic today. It's pretty cool when your math teacher has an outstanding ability to use the English language. Okay. Later than I thought. Everybody see the first one?
What? Why is it -4?
Because if you do 6 squared, you get 36. What do you need to add to 36 to get 32? You need to add -4. Ready? If I square root of 2, I get 4. What do I got to add to 4 to get -5?
9.
-9. Uh-oh. 3.5 squared, is that 10.25?
I got
18.75.
I got 13.2. I got 13.5.
Oh, is it 13.5? Well, then it'll be minus 6.5.
Noise.
I don't